Hi, welcome to Smarter Campaigns Candidate Training video blog. I'm Ben Eisenberg, president of Smarter Campaigns. Today we're going to talk about how to use religion to your advantage on a campaign. Now, candidates often find it difficult to navigate the intersection between religion and politics during their campaign. Many times, a candidate will think that because they are religious, that followers of their particular denomination should be a really easy target for their campaign. Candidates are often unaware that churches and synagogues and mosques risk losing their tax-exempt status by engaging in partisan political activity like endorsing you. This isn't to say that you shouldn't court religious voters. It's just to say that you need to be very careful and conscious of the rules, because you would really hate to go out organizing a church and as a result of your actions have that church lose tax-exempt status. That's going to hurt your campaign. So with that in mind, here are 4 helpful tips for how to use religion to your advantage. Number 1, know why you're there. Houses of worship are a great place to seek volunteers and supporters. They're also a terrible place to seek money, petitions for signatures, or endorsements. Many churches, synagogues, and mosques will actually give you time, a few minutes on the pulpit. But even if they won't, it's so important that you go and show your presence. Even if you're not personally religious, you can choose denominations that are more in line with what you believe, whatever that may be. But it's essential to not skip religious voters. Number 2, mix it up. Go to a different church each week, 2 or 3 ideally. Don't ignore your local church, but know that you're going to be organizing them outside of services. You want to go to as many different denominations as possible every single week. Baptist, AME, Catholic, Quaker, Jewish, Greek Orthodox, Unitarian, Egyptian Coptic. Based on the demographics of your district, don't forget about Muslims, Jews, Hindus, and Buddhists. They vote too. Remember that Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. said that the most segregated hour in America is during church. If you're white, don't forget about going to the African American churches and vice versa. Number 3, know the rules. When you go to a new house of worship, there's often etiquette and rules of which you may be unaware. Try to be sensitive to this, since the whole point you're going to these services is to gain supporters and votes. And by following these steps in etiquette, you can actually help to do that. So, Jews will make you put on a hat, while Christians will make you take yours off. It's one of many differences. At white churches, showing up late is generally considered unacceptable and may upset people. Showing up at the beginning of service and leaving partway through is usually acceptable for political candidates. Conversely, at African American churches, it's okay to show up late, even halfway through the service sometimes, but God help you if you leave early. So if you're trying to hit 2 or 3 churches in a single Sunday, schedule the African American churches after the white churches. I've been in situations where, we went to the African American church in the morning, and then the candidate got up to leave and undermined an entire morning's worth of effort because people said, oh, they don't respect our church by leaving early. Number 4, use the right language. If you're religious and you want to cite scripture in church, go for it. That's your prerogative. But if you want to cite scripture in your stump speech, you need to be a lot more careful. George Bush had his speechwriters interweave biblical phrases and verses into his stump speeches in a way that if you were Christian and you knew the Bible word for word, you got an entirely different message and different speech than the average person who didn't know the Bible that well. It was done really artfully, and as such, most people were unaware of what was happening. If you want to interweave biblical phrases into your speeches like that, that's okay. But you really have to be careful to not alienate voters. If you say Bible, passage, verse, scripture, or any of a dozen words, those will alienate voters, especially non-religious voters. Instead, try using the line, "There's a quote from my favorite book." That way you're not saying passage or verse or Bible. It's actually a trick that motivational speakers use all the time. because about half of their audience is religious and half isn't, and they're really conscious about not alienating people. So instead of saying, there's a verse in the Bible that I want to share with you, say, there's a quote from my favorite book. Religious voters will get it, everyone else will not. Hopefully, these tricks will help you use religion to your advantage on the campaign and not alienate any voters. Best of luck on your campaign. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. Have a great day.